Listen, if you're an expert in your field, but your marketing isn't converting customers, this video is going to change everything for you. Here's what's probably happening. You know your stuff inside and out. You've probably spent years mastering your craft. But when you try to explain what you do to potential customers, their eyes just glaze over and they don't end up buying. Most business owners think this is a creativity problem or a messaging problem. But here's the thing. It's actually a proven psychological bias called the curse of knowledge. And once you understand how it works, you can fix it. I'm going to show you in this video the exact 7-step framework I use with clients to break this curse and turn expert knowledge into customer converting communication. So let me start off with a study that might just blow your mind, at least it did for me. In 1990, a Stanford researcher named Elizabeth Newton ran what's called the Tappers and Listeners experiment. Here's how it worked. One group of people, the Tappers, tapped out simple songs that you'd probably know, such as Happy Birthday on a table. Happy birthday to you, but they're just tapping it out. Another group, the Listeners, tried to guess the song. Now, they weren't hearing the song being sung or played, they were just hearing the tapping coming from the Tappers. The Tappers were really confident. They estimated about 50% of listeners would recognize the tune. What would you think the actual result was? Pause this video and drop your guess in the comments below. I'd love to hear your answer before I read it out to you. Out of 120 songs, listeners guessed only 3 correctly. That's a 2.5% success rate. So why the massive gap? It was actually 2.5%, yet the Tappers thought it would be 50%. While tapping, the Tappers heard the melody perfectly in their heads, but the listeners, they heard only random tapping with no tune. This is exactly what's happening in your marketing right now. You're the tapper. You hear the beautiful melody of your expertise. Your customers are the listeners. They're probably just hearing random noise. So let's talk through the 7 different steps that you can walk through. The first one being transition. The first step to breaking this curse is getting out of your own head and into your customer's reality. Here's what you need to do. Stop assuming and start asking. I want you to conduct knowledge gap interviews with 5 to 10 of your ideal customers. Ask them these 3 questions. When you think about your industry, whatever you're in, what confuses you most? Number 2, what words or terms do you hear that you don't understand? Number 3, what would you want to know before buying whatever the type of product or service it is that you offer? Now, imagine a cybersecurity company talking about 128-bit encrypted databases and multi-factor authentication protocols. It sounds really impressive, right? And really expensive. After doing these interviews, they'll probably discover that their customers just wanted to know, will my data be safe like money in a bank? That one insight could change everything. That change in messaging alone, what could that do to your sales and conversions? Just ask yourself that. Now, step number 2 is focus on benefits and pain points, not insider details. So here's where most experts completely blow it. They lead with what they know instead of what the customer needs. Remember when Apple launched the iPad back in the early 2000s? They didn't say 5 gigabyte portable music player with a 1.8-inch hard drive. Yeah, that was on the specs, on the inside of the box probably, or if you really looked at the details, but it wasn't the most prominent thing. What was the most prominent thing? They said 1,000 songs in your pocket. Same product, completely different language. One speaks to engineers, the other speaks to music lovers who want more freedom with their tunes. So here's your framework that you can follow. For every feature you want to mention, especially in the headline, the subheadline, or prominently in your marketing, ask yourself, so what, 3 different times. Here's an example. We use advanced analytics. So what? It tracks your performance. So what? You know exactly what's working. So what? Then it leads to this final headline. You stop wasting money on things that don't work. The final answer, that's what goes in your marketing. Okay? Ask yourself, so what, 3 different times until you've perfected that messaging, and you can get a headline just like Apple used that revolutionized the music industry. Step number 3 is avoid over-explaining. Less can be more. Listen, I get it. You're proud of your expertise. You want to show customers everything you know. But here's the reality. Dumping information on prospects usually backfires. Your customers don't want a dissertation. They want to know you can solve their problem. So I worked with a personal trainer who was explaining workouts using terms like anaerobic threshold, progressive overload, metabolic conditioning. I can barely even pronounce these words myself. Clients were completely lost. We changed it to get stronger every week without burning out or getting injured. Same concept, zero fitness science required. The rule is this: provide enough information to build confidence, but not so much that you create confusion. Save the technical little details for after they've decided to work with you. So step number 4 is keep it simple, and I really mean keep it simple. Here's a stat that will shock you. Roughly half of US adults can't easily read above an 8th grade reading level. So when you're using industry jargon and complex explanations, you're literally excluding half your potential market. Simple doesn't mean simplistic or dumbed down. It means distilling your message to its core value in words anybody can understand. Instead of "we provide optimized financial intermediary solutions," say "we help you get paid faster." Which one would you be more likely to click? Instead of saying "our proprietary methodology leverages advanced algorithms," say "our system finds you more customers." Clear beats clever every single time. I want you to aim for a message that a bright 12-year-old could understand, because that forces you to be crystal clear. Now, step number 5 is present information step by step, not all at once. Don't dump everything on your customers at once. Think of it like giving directions in a new city. You wouldn't hand somebody the entire map and expect them to memorize the whole thing. Here's how this works in practice. Focus on the next step you want the customer to take, not every step all at once. So on your website, it might look like this. The headline is what you do. You want them to understand. The subheadline is why it matters. You want them to care. Then you have the call to action, which is what to do next and take action. Guide them through the maze one turn at a time, rather than shouting out the entire path in one go. When you're talking, always talk in progressions, not just dumping it all on them at one shot. Now, step number 6 is get a fresh pair of eyes on your business. Here's one of the most effective ways to break the curse of knowledge. Have someone without your expertise review your marketing materials regularly. Before you publish that web page or send that email campaign, especially if it's a really important one, run it by someone who isn't involved in your business. Ask them to repeat back what they think you meant and see if it matches your intent. I do this with a lot of the marketing I create. I have a friend who knows nothing about marketing review my content. If they don't get it, neither will my customers. This outside perspective will quickly expose any jargon, assumptions, or confusing elements that you've become blind to. And step number 7, and last but not least, is practice empathy and awareness. Finally, you need to develop what I call beginner's mind. Constantly remind yourself to step into your audience's shoes. Before you write any marketing message, ask yourself, if I knew nothing about this topic, would this make sense and be convincing? Remember what it felt like when you were just starting out in your field in the early days? How confusing was the jargon, and how long did it take for you to finally really pick up with it? How overwhelming was all that information? Keep that memory alive in your mind when you communicate. The businesses that scale understand this. Your expertise is your superpower, but only when you can translate it into language your customers actually understand. So listen, the curse of knowledge can be a silent killer of your marketing and sales. It's the reason brilliant business owners struggle to connect with customers, not because their product isn't good, but because their message isn't clear. But here's the good news. With these 7 steps that I just explained, you can lift this curse. Focus on clarity over complexity. Speak to outcomes, not features, and always test your message on someone outside your expert bubble. When you shed that expert ego and speak to people in their language, your marketing won't just sound like noise, it'll finally start to click. And that's when your business can really scale. Now, if you're struggling to implement this in your own business, I get it, and I want to help you translate your expertise into customer converting communication. I'd love to help. Click that link below to book a free consultation with our team over here at Nips Media, where we'll review your current messaging and show you exactly where the curse of knowledge might be costing you customers. In the meantime, pick one of these 7 steps or multiple and implement it this week in your business. Your customers and your bank account thank you.